right, welcome ladies, and welcome to my 5 favorite strategies for a family-focused, streamlined, I'm all about working less hours and a very highly profitable business. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I know we've got lots of folks on the webinar and lots of folks who are going to be listening to the recording. So again, I shared the ladies who called in that I apologize about my raspy voice, but it's all good. But real quick, I know that many ladies know me and have been following and part of our community for a while, but I know there's lots of ladies who are brand new, so who are like, who is this Claire character? So just real quick, I have been in corporate training and coaching for as long as I can remember. I mean, I did it on the corporate side, doing training and coaching, have my master's degree in training from North Carolina State University. And then about 10 years ago, my first entree, if you will, into the in-home business world was with Mary Kay, and I was a sales director, and I had a whole unit of women. And that was my favorite part of that job, or that business, was my weekly training meeting, where I'd be able to train and encourage and simplify the business building process. And it's a wonderful business. It just wasn't for me. For me, I want to help all women, regardless of the business that you're growing. So I have that training and coaching experience in my corporate world, and I've coupled it with some life experiences. And this was probably, for some, you never want to hear the words, you have cancer, but it ended up being the biggest life blessing for me. And it was about 7 years ago, my son was born. He was a couple months old, and I had been diagnosed with advanced breast cancer. I mean, super advanced. So because of the unique type and how advanced it was, I wasn't given great chances of survival, but I'm here and healthy and cancer-free. But that really, truly did give me a life experience, right? That, gosh, life is short. Why are these people just going through life, going through the motions? It is too short. And it fueled my fire to grow into the best wife and mom and woman that I could be. So I truly do see that as such a life experience that was a blessing. And it has also then fueled my fire for this business. I love what I do, and I'm able to work with so many women all across the United States. And I have truly dedicated my life to help other women that want the same thing. I mean, I so desperately wanted to be in the home, so desperately. My husband, however, he's a teacher, and I love that he's a teacher. I want him to be a teacher forever. But North Carolina is one of the lowest teaching salary states. So the reality was, in order for me to stay home, right, and to grow into this wife and mom and woman that I wanted to be, I needed a significant income. I was historically the breadwinner. So I'm not talking about, making an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month, something significant. And I know there's so many women in the same boat, right, who may not have the luxury of getting back in the house without having a very strong, profitable business, or even maybe have that luxury, but they want something for their own, and they feel like they've got this calling, right? They're so passionate about helping people solve problems. So I have truly dedicated my life to helping women, and I loved all the women, and especially so many of them are moms, and to be able to see the impact that it has on their lives is incredible. And just real quickly, my differentiating factor is this webinar is going to be helpful for whether you're a service-based provider or a product-based provider. But my forte is truly for those of you who are service-based, women entrepreneurs, meaning that you're not selling a product per se. You are selling you, right? You're selling your time, your expertise. You're packaging that to help folks solve problems. Whether you're helping them in their business, or you're helping them make more money, or you're helping them with their relationships, or you're helping them build a website, or you are helping them create a life that they love. That's what I'm all about. And I especially, you'll resonate with people who want to do it in a way where they're building their business around their family, not the other way around. Like for me, it's real important that I work only during the day while my son is at school. So right now my schedule is about 9 to 3:30, Monday through Friday. Don't want to work nights, don't want to work weekends. And that's how I've designed my business around my family. And women who are looking at ways to streamline their business. I mean, many of you are working way too much for way too little profit. And there are simple ways to streamline your business where you're able to get your clients fabulous results. But if we could just sort of stop and think about the way that you're delivering it and how you can get them significant results in a way where it's not taking up so much of your time. So that's what I'm all about, is service-based women entrepreneurs who resonate with that message of a family-focused business, a streamlined business, a highly profitable business, while only working part-time hours, whatever that means for you, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week. Now, one of my differentiating factors, and I hopefully you hear that through this webinar, is I want you to end this webinar feeling belief. I love to breathe belief into you because I believe that you all have this seed of desire for an incredibly successful business for a reason. It's not just a fluke. I mean, for a reason. And because of my faith, I believe God has planted that seed of desire in you and that you can absolutely do it, right? Not that it's going to happen overnight and happen tomorrow, but that you absolutely can do it and have fun in the process. And that, that with focus and effort and determination, the sky's the limit, right? And my forte then is figuring out how you can get there, how to get you the results, significant results, not just information, but the results in the quickest, easiest way. So that's a bit about who I am. And what I'd love for you to discover through this webinar is that the results that you want, now, I don't know you personally, most of you, but I'm sure that you want to find ways to easily grow your list, meaning your list of new ideal clients, right? You want to find new ideal clients, and you want to be able to do that in a way where every month you're getting in a steady new stream of new ideal clients. So growing your list, most likely you're wanting to make more money, right? You're wanting to make more sales, and you don't want the sales process to feel icky. You don't want the sales process to feel like such a struggle. I mean, ultimately, most of you, especially if you're a service-based provider, what you're struggling with is having your package, your solution, what I call your offer that sells itself. And you most likely want to figure out, well, how do I do this all? How do I meet new clients, get more clients, more sales, and how do I fit it all within this schedule that's going to work for me and my family? And the key thing is that it's most likely much, much, much easier than you probably think. Because I'm not going to say work more or work harder. I'm not going to say, gosh, work 80 hours a week. And it's not about that. There's actually a lot of times women that I see that are working way too much, it's actually having a detrimental effect on their business. So I'm not about that. I'm not about working more or working harder at all. And then again, hopefully by the end of the webinar, you know that I believe in you, and that you have started gaining that belief yourself, that it is indeed possible. So again, like I said, this webinar is helpful for all folks, but my model, what I'm specifically passionate about and most skilled at, is helping that service-based woman entrepreneur who is pretty confident about your business, right? You know you're in the right business. You feel like, yes, this is the business I'm meant to be in, whether you're a life coach or a holistic doctor or a web designer, you feel like, yes, this is my thing. And you already have the basics of your business up and running. You've already been helping some clients get some results, even though you'd love there to be more and more clients, right? And you generally feel like you are on the verge of something. And sometimes it depends on what day would be what you're on the verge of, right? Some days you feel like, I can do this. I'm on the verge of success, right? It feels so close. I can almost taste it. And then maybe another day you feel like you're on the verge of throwing in the towel and saying, gosh, can I ever figure this out? I mean, look at these other women that are doing it. They must have something special, some special ingredient, right? They're more charismatic than me. They don't have anything that you don't have? No. So do you feel like you're on the verge some days of feeling like, I can do this? I can't do it. I can do it. I can't do it. That's who this model is perfect for. And it's also perfect for, here's a quick diagram, and this is great for regardless of what business that you're in. All of us, every single one of us on this call is an entrepreneur, and we are. Okay, Kimberly says she cannot hear. So Kimberly, you can either click on, there's a mic and speakers button, a green little button, or you can call in to the number that was provided in the email, which you should hopefully see in the chat function if you could scroll up a bit. So if your speakers are on your computer, you should be able to hear just by clicking that green button. And if not, just go ahead and call into that phone number. But this visual here, we're all entrepreneurs, and we are all in the same exact entrepreneurial journey, regardless of what business that you're in. And we start at the bottom left, this acorn, right, the seed of desire. I have an idea for a business, and you're sort of figuring it out, and you're getting things up and running, and that's the acorn, right? And the thing is, it could take quite some time sometimes, especially if you're struggling on your own, before that acorn becomes a sapling, right? Before you finally see some results come through that soil. And then it takes a while, and this sapling still, can be knocked over by the first big old win, that first big obstacle that as entrepreneurs we're going to have. We're going to have those obstacles. And it takes time of consistency, and that's really what I want to focus on today too, and showing you it's about being consistent, but it's about doing less, and doing that, though, consistently. Then you become this big, solid oak tree where you're like, oh my gosh, this business is so wonderful. It's so stable. It's so secure. But it's sometimes we're at that acorn stage for years, right? I hope we're not there for years, but many times we're there for years because we're figuring out, well, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. No, how about I try this? And sometimes we're getting in our own way. The sooner we can get to that sapling stage, and that's my passion, is that sapling stage where okay, this is what I should be doing, and I've got some things up and running. I just need to amp it up. I mean, I want that consistent $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month in my business, and I want things to feel like I'm just, I've got the systems up and running. I've got what I call these rinse and repeat marketing strategies where every single month new ideal clients are coming into your funnel, that you're converting to sales, and that you're able to do it in a way that feels authentic, natural, and when you're able to fit it into your schedule. So that is truly what we're all about. And what we're going to cover today in this webinar is how do you leverage your business model so that you can work less hours, so you can do it in a part-time schedule. And how can you actually find these hungry ideal clients, as I like to say? How can you find more ideal clients by doing less marketing? Sounds appealing, doesn't it? And that's what it's about, doing less marketing and doing that less marketing consistently. And some simple ways to grow your list. So some simple ways to get those ideal clients in front of you, hearing about you. And then again, we got to figure out how to do this so it's not overtaking our life, right? Some shortcut strategies that you could be more productive but have lots more time off to enjoy your life and your family. That is the crux of what I'm about and my passion. But the problem is what I see, and I'm going to open up the chat function too, and as I'm going through this, I'd love any of the problems that have been tripping you up that actually it's going into the next slide, but I'll leave the chat function open for a second, is I see way too many of you are smart, you're passionate, you're dedicated. Way too many of you are struggling, and I hate to see it. Maybe you've got bits of pieces of your business up and running, but something's missing, right? A lot of times it's just some tweaks. It's just doing what you're doing and just streamlining it a bit, maximizing it a bit. You're just not seeing these results fast enough, and when you don't see the results fast enough, what you've probably experienced is negative Nelly can get really loud right in your ear, being like, who are you fooling? Just forget about this. Sometimes you have that fear of, oh my gosh, I may have to go back and get a job. Less time with my kids. You wake up in the 2 a.m. sweats that I call. You wake up in the middle of the night being like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this? And I can tell you that when we're running our business from that place, it's nearly impossible for us to give our clients the best. It's nearly impossible for us to be marketing effectively and authentically. It's nearly impossible for us to help our clients get these transformations when our business is on life support, right? But no, it's common, and there's some common things that have been getting in your way. So I'd love for you to click here in the chat function. What do you think has been getting in your way? What has been tripping you up? Why aren't you where you want to be? So I'd love for you to go ahead and click that in the chat function. What I see is that it's not about information, right? You have access, especially right now. We are in the information world. You can Google the answer to almost anything, right? It's not about information. You could buy a book. You can, there's free webinars, teleseminars, info products, information products, all the way up to things that are like $10,000 a program for the year. But it's mainly about what? It's about information. So it's not about the lack of information. There's enough information out there to teach you all how to grow a business. What's getting in the way is actually taking that information and distilling it and taking action from that information. I mean, naturally speaking, probably only about 20% of us are natural action takers, where you could read some information and take action on it. But the mass majority are not. The mass majority needs someone to sort of distill it for them and to say, okay, here's the first step, and then here's the second step. Go ahead, go try this. Come back. What's working, what's not working? It's actually implementing. So ask yourself if you're not actually implementing. I mean, there's folks who that I love to death, right, and that have started a business maybe, let's say, way before I started this business. And they're still sort of getting in their own way. They still are like, I'm just working on my website. I'm still working on my tagline. Like, forget about that. Get out of your own way and just start working with clients, even imperfectly at first. So good. I see some things here. Feeling like I can take charge and actually contribute to our income. So fear is huge, right? Sometimes it's fear of technology. I mean, many of us are getting tripped up by the technical aspects of our business. And even if you have an offline business, like a storefront, there's still an online component, right? Because that's where people are. That's where they're hanging out. They're hanging out on Google. They're looking at websites. They're on social media. And that is tripping you up, right? And you're thinking, well, gosh, I know there's someone who could do this so much quicker, but I just don't have the money yet. And so it's this catch-22. But y'all shared, too, about fear. That's what is tripping up so many people. Fear of success, fear of failure. I feel of failure being like, what is people going to think of me if this doesn't work out? Or fear of success, believe it or not, sometimes is, oh my gosh, yeah, once I get all these clients, when am I going to fit it in? Is it going to change our life drastically for the negative? Confidence issues, right? There's some here imposing on others. Right, feeling like we're imposing on others with sales. It should never feel like that, right? When you have identified your core marketing strategies that feel natural and authentic, it should never feel like that again. But that's very common, right? Feeling like I'm imposing or I'm being pushy, and a lot of times that comes down to just not knowing what are those core marketing strategies and just doing those things consistently, not doing anything that feels icky or that feels like you're imposing. There's so many different ways to market your business. Let's focus on those that feel authentic to us, right? Sometimes we're being paralyzed by perfectionism, information overload. There's lots. But let's just get out of our own way and let's dive on in. So what are my 5 favorite strategies? First of all, for you to know as a women business owner, deep to the core, what I like to call as your mountaintop. Meaning right now, you'll most likely say you're not where you want to be, right? You can get a visual of you looking up at the top of the mountaintop and saying, that's where I want to be, where my business feels very different, where I'm running it very different, where my bank account looks very different, where my work hours look very different. But this may sound obvious, but you know what? 97% of you could not clearly articulate. If I opened up the lines and unmuted, 97% of you might be hemming and hawing when I say, okay, well, what is that? What is that you're trying to get to? You're climbing up this mountaintop. What is it going to be like when you get to the top of the mountaintop? And do you feel that deep in the core that you can absolutely get there? And this process of getting clear on your mountaintop should be an enjoyable process. but we don't do it. And it's real simple. It starts with, when I talk about mountaintop, especially for those of you who are service-based entrepreneurs, there's three things in particular for you to be able to clearly articulate. First of all, you heard that my thing is about you having a business that's what? That's family-focused, that's streamlined, and that's highly profitable. Well, what does that highly profitable target look like for you? We already are a week into the year. Do you know what your monthly profitability target number is for 2014? And have you thought through, gotten pen to paper, and thought through a scenario to hit that? And if not, do that. And every year, or even sometimes mid-year, it may adjust, but sometimes we just pull out these numbers out of thin air. A common one I hear is $10,000 a month. Okay. I mean, is that truly, and when I look at highly profitable too, I want it to be a number that's going to give you peace of mind, right? You're not going to have those 2 a.m. sweats. You're able to not just get by, but you're able to start living this lifestyle that you want to live. And last year, my profitability number for this year, if you had told me with my profitability number last year, I'd been like, you are crazy. You're crazy, right? So if you're making $0 right now a month and your first number is $10,000, first I'd say, okay, let's adjust that. What would be that highly profitable number? Again, that your business is bringing in everything it needs to be. You're getting all your bills paid. You've got some to spare. And just start hitting that consistently and then up it. So my profitability number each month for 2014 blows me away. But when then I get to pen to paper and I'm like, oh, my gosh, yeah. So I'm having, a new program start every other month at this price point, and and it's clear. And now I know exactly what to do to hit my profitability number. So it starts there. Do you know your profitability number? And have you thought through a possible scenario? It doesn't need to be perfect, but just a possible scenario to start building that belief that you can get there. Another part of your mountaintop is when I talk about doing having this family-focused business, have you thought through what your ideal schedule would look like? And I know many of you thinking, Claire, there's no ideal week. Every week is different, with kids, and I understand that. But let's not use that as an excuse because, yes, you're right. It's not every week is going to be this ideal week, right, where you get to work exactly when you want to work. I understand that. But you know what? When you actually start building into this ideal schedule, you'll be shocked at how many weeks you have that fit that ideal criteria. And by having some of those really, really good, solid weeks, then when life happens and little Johnny is sick or something goes on, that's why I at home, right? So I have this flexibility to be here for my family. But think through your ideal schedule. So last year, the ideal schedule that I grew into and that I reached because it was crystal clear, again, was 9 to 3:30, right? Drop Dylan off at school, and I work from 9 to 3:30. My ideal schedule for 2014 that I'm working into is to work from 10 to 2. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No. Will it happen at some point in 2014 when that's my focus? Absolutely. And another activity, getting really clear on your mountaintop, is to get clear and visualize your ideal favorite day. Now, when I was first building this business, and this, Seed of Desire was planted, this is about 4 years ago, and I was like, you know what? I'm building this from scratch because I didn't quite know, which type of women business owners and what my curriculum would be and what I'd be selling, and I just knew it was going to happen. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to work. Let me go back to work. After I cried a bit, I was like, let me go back to work because we couldn't rely on my husband's income. And I did not want to build this business from a place of scarcity and, oh, my gosh, are we going to have enough money? I didn't want that to be an issue. So I started visualizing while I was working another full-time job. I started visualizing my ideal favorite day, even though it wasn't around, right? I saw myself get on up, and I saw myself do my exercise and my Bible study time and get Dylan ready for school and drop him off. And then I saw myself go up to my office and work and, a very casual day. And then I saw it was 3:30 and I would stop working. And I saw myself going outside to the bus stop and pick Dylan up. And I saw that, and I got really good at playing over what I call that mind movie as I was drifting off to sleep, figuring out, you know what, I don't know how or when this is going to happen, but it's going to happen. And you know what? Last year, that was my day. Except the bus stop was one block over from where I visualized it, but it was all good. And this year, my ideal favorite day that I play over and over in my mind is I see that, again, that I get on up and I've got this new room that we don't have yet, and it's this double-decker room, and it overlooks the woods, and I go on in there and I do my yoga, and I have a massage therapist come over every other Friday for a massage, and then I work from 10 to 2. It's a very casual day, and, that I'm not at 2, Dylan isn't getting home until 3:30. I still have an hour and a half and I don't need to spend that time really cleaning the house because we have someone's coming in to clean the house every week, and that's my idea of an ideal favorite day. And I can go on and on because I see it in such depth. Is it what I'm living today? No. Is it going to happen at some point in 2014? Yes. So I'm going to ask you to do that. Figure out what's your profitability target for this month, your monthly target for this year. What would be your ideal schedule? In a perfect world, again, you don't need to figure out how or when you're going to get there, but we need to start seeing this. And what would your day look like from beginning to end, your ideal favorite day? And then we've got to believe that it's possible. And you could say the saying that I say, I don't know when or how, but this is going to happen. I don't know when or how, but this is going to happen. Because as entrepreneurs, I got to tell you that if you don't have faith in your dream, no one else is going to. And we need to build your faith. Because like I shared in that entrepreneurial journey, of that acorn to the sapling to the tree, growing a business, we're going to have mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to fall down. You could think of your faith as this net that's going to catch you, right? When you get knocked down, we want that net of faith to spring you back on up, just part of the journey. We also, as we're building, getting to the top of that mountaintop, right, that now we can see, and we know when I say I'm not there yet, but that's where I want to go, where my income is this, and my days are like this, and there's going to be so much messiness going up that mountain. There is. That's part of the entrepreneurial journey. We don't always know, is this going to work? Is this going to work? So being okay with the messiness and those slips and, those ice patches as we're going up to the mountaintop, no, it's just part of the journey. It's not easier for anyone else, even though it may seem like it. They too slipped, right? I too slipped. And I just get back on up, dust off my knees. And that's what it takes to get to your mountaintop. And another huge part, which I can have a whole program on, is to master your money story. The biggest reason service-based providers like you are going out of business is you're simply not charging enough. You're undervaluing your service. There's a lot that goes into that, of course, right? You need to be getting significant you need to figure out what results you get for your clients and keep increasing your rates as you get them better and better results quicker and quicker. But so many of us have this money story, right, where maybe it's not, we're doing this out of the goodness of our heart, right? And we're just so passionate about helping people, and we don't like the whole sales and marketing aspect. But there's a way to truly master your money story, and until we feel confident with that, it's really difficult to have a successful business. So know what your mountaintop is and start believing that it's possible, again, that you don't know how or when. The next thing is we want to leverage our offerings. So especially those of you who are service-based providers. Like let's say that you're a business coach like me. Many times folks are just, you're selling your coaching. You're selling your coaching hours. You're working with folks one-on-one, right? You're missing what I like to call that offer that sells itself, that offer that you describe to people the results you can get. And you point them to the top of their mountaintop. And you say, okay, you feel like you're here now at this base camp of the mountaintop, but imagine what life can look like when you're up there and when it looks and feels like this. And when these particular problems have been resolved and instead it looks like that. And you know what? And I'm confident I can get you up there. But we're missing that. We're missing that offer that sells itself, that our clients are hungry for. And a lot of times it's in front of your eyes. We're so used to selling our things like a coaching, right? Or $100 an hour or $50 an hour, people aren't buying coaching, or they're not buying, okay, you're going to learn this, and then you're going to learn that, and then you're going to learn that. Instead, they want to know what results, right? My clients want to know, are you going to help me while this time that we work together, double my list? Are you going to help me actually get my rinse and repeat strategies up and running and fine-tuned before I leave you, that I know that I just keep doing this every single month? Are you going to actually help me clear that I'm making sales into my new offer and that I'm comfortable with that process, right? People want to know what the results are, not just information. So it's about knowing what is their mountaintop. What is your client's mountaintop? They're at the base camp somewhere. They're struggling with something, and they want life to be different. They want to get to the top of the mountaintop. Do you know what that top of the mountaintop is? And do you know how to get them there in the quickest, easiest way? You probably do. It probably just takes some, I'm sure you do. It probably just takes some, like a discussion to get clear on how do you describe that mountaintop and how do you get them there, and giving them no more and no less information that they need to get to that mountaintop. So there's a couple things, especially for your service-based providers, right? A lot of times we start, and a lot of times it makes sense to start as a coach or someone, again, who's selling your time and your expertise through working with folks one-on-one. That's how I started, working with folks one-on-one. Got a really good idea as far as what results I can get them in the quickest way. And then because I'm all about working part-time hours, I very quickly moved on to leveraging my time, not at the expense of the results that they were getting. I actually found when I was able to leverage my time and work especially with groups that, gosh, the power of the group and the transformation they were able to get was so much greater than working one-on-one. There's just something so powerful about that. And then looking at, okay, within this group, what information am I repeating over and over and over again, and how can I make that as a training video or this or that? So it's not me physically talking about it. So we can get down to work and they can start implementing and putting to action. We can tweak and they can get results. And regardless, or it depends on, the type of results that you get, folks, your preference. But you can do groups, you could do workshops, you could do retreats. There's lots of different ways to leverage your time, but the sooner we start figuring that out, the better. And then there gets to be a point where you're working with lots of folks. You're helping lots of people get results. And then you're either at this point now or maybe a couple years from now, but I hope that you remember this, that you have a choice about how you build your business. You can either build an empire, meaning there are some folks who you're like, I want to be on the big stage. I want to be the leader in my industry. I want a whole team, right? I want all assistants and maybe some other coaches underneath me. You wanting to build an empire, which is wonderful. Some of my favorite mentors have an empire, like Allie Brown. I love Allie Brown. She has an empire, okay? Then there are some folks who are more attracted to a lifestyle business, like me, right? I'm like, you know what? I would love to, I want this $250,000 business while only working 10 to 2, right, and having one part-time assistant. I don't need to have 50 zillion, or it's not a desire of me to have monthly live workshops and info products and all these different levels and membership groups. And for me, it's about simplicity, because for me, it's about helping my clients get great results, and for me to do it in a way that it's built around my lifestyle. So either way is great. You probably know which your direction might be, whether you want to build an empire or a lifestyle. But again, the sooner, if you're all the way on the bottom left here, one-on-one coaching, which is great, or one-on-one services, but to truly have this leveraged business, it's figuring out how can I get them those results or better results in even a quicker period of time. How would I structure that? And again, a lot of times it's easier than you think. So it's just, generally having that type of discussion. And when you start leveraging your offer, you're going to see that the sooner you can get beyond information. Like if I were to pull up some of your websites, I know some of you are life coaches, and if I were to pull up your website and see what you're selling, a program or your coaching, I bet you that you don't get into results as much as you may think. You know, again, you're selling packages and hours or information. We're going to be learning such and such and such. Instead of painting that mountaintop, right? People want their life to be different if you're a service-based provider. What are they hungry for? What results are they hungry for that you can get them there in the quickest, fastest path? When you can figure that out yourself, it's probably what you're doing already with some tweaks, excuse me, with some tweaks and the way you describe it and how you get them into action. When you make that change in your business, it is going to feel completely different. Completely different. So even those of you who are thinking, well, I'm not a coach, I'm not selling my time, there are ways that you can automate, streamline, and outsource as much as possible. Like I said, when I was first started in groups and I was doing webinars, or we were, meeting as a group, maybe in person or webinar, and a lot of times I was providing information. Then I realized, I'm sharing the same information about how to, plan out your year and your quarter. Why am I not recording this? And they watch it before we get together. And then during our time together, we're able to really dig much deeper. So there are so many ways that you can automate and streamline it. You don't need to be the one that's saying or doing, because too many of you are working way too hard for way too little money, especially with what's available. I know there's so many tools and tricks that are available that people don't even know about. When I first learned about how to record a video, it wasn't even of me. It was pretty much this, right, where I'm sharing slides and people will be able to rewatch it. I was like, wow, that's available? Wow, and it's free? There are things that are out there if you could just sort of sit on down and figure out what's taking up the most amount of your time right now. And if you think there's got to be a better way, you know what? There's a better way. And a lot of times just having some discussions with folks is key. All right, so the first thing is figuring out what is your mountaintop. You're not where you want to be, but where the heck do you want to be? Secondly is figuring out how you can start switching from trading your hours for dollars to really leveraging your time. And the third is about marketing. And this is huge, 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 is that most people are marketing ineffectively. And I know that many of you may say, well, I don't like marketing, right? And actually in the chat function, share with me some of your thoughts about marketing or some of your struggles with marketing as we go through the next couple of slides. That would be great. But I'd love for you to remember these visuals. Okay, this little or big diamond, wouldn't mind that diamond being on my hand. That big diamond, think of it as what I call, you probably have heard it called this before, shiny object syndrome. And it is crippling you, ladies, crippling you. Because we hear, we're supposed to have a Facebook page. So we work on going and get a Facebook page. And then we have a page, and we're not consistently posting. Because now so-and-so says, I need to have a blog. So I go and I focus on getting this blog up and running, and then I'm not consistently doing a blog post each week. And then I hear I should be on Google+. So now I go over here, and oh my gosh, if I could tell you how many business pages or profiles, whether it's on Twitter or on Facebook, are dormant, right? And you worked all that time on getting it up and running, but it's doing you no good. And you're like, I don't know why it's not working. And I go out to someone's Facebook page and I say, Susie, you haven't posted in weeks. People haven't heard from you. That's why it's not working. Because Facebook marketing could work very effectively, very simply, by being consistent. And I understand why this is an issue, is because, right, and many of you are saying, yep, I've done that, because there are so many marketing strategies at our disposal, right, that we're getting confused. And there's so much, but what I'm going to ask you to do is be that lady on the right-hand side there. Put on your sunglasses. Put your marketing blinders on. Just pick a couple of strategies and just do that. Take a sigh of relief And if someone says, you know what, you really should be on whatever, Google Plus, be like, you know what, great. Not right now. Maybe next year. I'm just going to work on my marketing and doing this consistently. That's what's going to pay off. So many times, I wish I had this picture of a lady, but still a fabulous visual. When we are getting a new marketing strategy up and running, right? Maybe we're doing a webinar for the first time, or we are starting to network, or we are getting a website up and running, or a blog site, or social media, or we're working at a table or a booth at an expo, right? Getting that up and running takes a lot of work. And you're pushing this boulder up the hill, right? And you're pushing it up and pushing it up. And so let's say you went and you did a trade show, right? You had a booth and you put all this effort in and you got all these leads and you just don't follow up with the leads. You let that rock, the boulder, roll on back down because you say, okay, now I'm supposed to go do this. So now let me go and I'm supposed to have a YouTube channel, and now I'm supposed to have a podcast channel, right? We're going thing to thing to thing, and that boulder keeps rolling back down. Before you gave yourself that gift of the momentum of the boulder going down the other side and going, whee, really being able to experience the benefit. So stop doing that. Also know that if it feels icky, it doesn't matter if it worked for Jane. If it feels icky to you, my recommendation is don't do it. Don't do it. With so many marketing strategies at your disposal, why not identify strategies that feel natural to you? That's what it's about. It's just picking like 3 core strategies. That's what I'm about. 3 core strategies. Just get really good at them. Get good and consistent with those. That's going to get you results. Just 3. And a lot of times you may be thinking, well, which 3? Well, think of this beautiful Venn diagram here. You remember Venn diagrams from back in the math. First of all, pick strategies that fit your personality. If the thought of writing a weekly blog post gives you a headache, you'd rather stick a pin in your eye, you know what? Then don't worry about a blog post. That's what I'm going to recommend, because don't you think you'd find every reason in the book to procrastinate? So first of all, strategies that fit your personality. Secondly, strategies which effectively connect with your ideal client. So for me, my ideal client is what? Is a service-based women entrepreneur. Where is she that she would be most open to hear my message? Right? She's probably open to hear my message when I meet her at a networking meeting or when she's on my business Facebook page. Maybe not as open to my message if I just meet her at a grocery store in the aisle and I bring up my business, right? So think about strategies where you can reach your ideal client in a space and place where your message is welcomed. And then lastly, strategies that you can commit to doing consistently. Like I said, Facebook is great. Can you commit to posting at least 2 to 3 times a day? Can you do it? Great. Then that strategy is going to work for you. If it fits your personality, you like being on Facebook, your market's hanging out on Facebook, and you can commit to doing it consistently, that's a winning strategy. And then you get this visual of this rinse and repeat. Then just do that week in and week out, month in and month out. You're most likely aren't going to get immediate results, but then you get that boulder goes down the other side of the hill. And you're getting referrals, and you're getting engagement, and you're like, how did this happen? It's because you were consistent. So for me, if you want to know what are my 3 strategies, my 3 strategies in my 2014 marketing plan is first is live networking. My ideal client is ready to ramp it up, Rhonda, right? She's a business owner, and she's ready to really take things up a notch. She wants to go from making $1,000 a month to making $8,000 a month. She's ready to ramp it up. Where is she hanging out? She's at live networking events. That's the first one. The second one is online social media. She is on YouTube, or she's in Google typing, how do I do this? How do I write a marketing plan? And I want a video that I've created to come up. She's on Facebook. Okay, so that's the second one, online social media. The third way for me is to increase my expert status through writing and speaking. So those are my 3 strategies. And then if you see what I have for live networking, I have Group A, Group B, and Group C. I take that power of 3 one step further and say, okay, if live networking is going to be one of my core strategies, which 2 to 3 groups am I going to be part of? If online social media is going to be my strategy, which 3 groups which 3 sites or tools am I going to be all on board, right? So it may be Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube, let's just say. And then increasing my expert status through writing and speaking, what are 3 ways I'm going to do that? It might be through my weekly blog posts. It may be through giving a monthly webinar, right? You get the idea. So just pick 3 and then take that power of 3 down further and just focus there. Just focus there and get consistent. That's where you're going to get results. All right, so that's the third, is that you can be far more effective with your marketing by doing less, but by doing that consistently. All right, so how do we get all this done? Let's say now you're getting all these new clients, and it's all about what I call your success calendar. And this is a fabulous visual. You've probably heard of Stephen Covey, and he talks about what matters most. And this visual, you could think of those rocks, both for your personal life and your business, as those big, important rocks. So for personal, for example, is that, you know what, life is going to come at us, and most of us are running around like a chicken with our head cut off, living in this reactive world. And Brandy, it's going until 1, but it's going to be recorded, so you'll be able to catch the last 10 minutes on the recording. So have no fear, and thanks so much for being here. So those big rocks, what are those things that are most important in your life? And put them in your schedule first, because you know what? We're going to live in that reactive world of that sand. Everything else that's going to come at us, where there's lots to keep us busy. That sand. When you put in those big rocks first, and then you put in the sand, there's going to be tons of room for sand. It's going to go in all the crevices. But you know what most of us do is we don't stop to plan, and we just are living, right? We're just responding to life in our personal and in our business. And we fill our life and our calendar and our time with sand. And then there's no room for those big rocks, right? We're like, I just don't have time to exercise. Oh, gosh, when's the last time I went on date night with my husband? Or I just don't have time to market. What? Your marketing plan should have been one of those big rocks that you put into your calendar first. Okay, so I like to call what I call my success calendar, and I figure out what are those big rocks. For me, I've got these 8 big rocks. Every year I figure out where am I going to be at the end of the year in these categories. And I also figure out what of these aspects are important for me to carve out time in my business, me growing as a businesswoman, family and relationships, my health and wellness. So if it's important for me to exercise, for me to sit through and think, you know what, when will I be most likely to do this? How can I make it the most palatable? For me, it's just part of my morning success routine, Monday through Friday. I wake on up, and I do my exercise video. I don't even think about it anymore. It's just part of my routine, and it's carved out in the morning. Personal growth, faith, and inspiration, that's important to me. So after I exercise, I go to my comfy chair, and whatever Bible study I'm working on at the time is right there right next to the chair, and I do it then. It's just I'm on auto drive in the morning, and I love that time. But if I didn't just stop and think through that and create this success routine, I'd be like most of us, right? I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time for Bible study. Yes, we do. Figure out your big rocks, and then look and create what I call an ideal week and calendar blocking. So, and I do my ideal week both business and personal. So I create what I call success routines, personal, right? I figure out when am I going to exercise and my Bible, all that stuff, and it's just a routine. It's on auto drive. And for business as well. I've got what I call themes to my days. So there are certain days that, like on Mondays, it's an office day. It's a planning day. I could be in my pajamas. I don't even need to shower if I didn't want to on Mondays. I'm not going to see anybody, and I'm not going to schedule any appointments on Monday. I know what I'm going to do Monday before Monday even starts. I know what I'm going to do first thing, right? I'm going to get my emails down to 0, and then I'm going to plan out my week. The afternoon of Mondays is my professional learning time. That's where any great training videos or webinar recordings, that's going to be on Monday afternoon. My client time is Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's when I'll do webinars, or that's when I hold my one-on-one calls with my clients. It's all about clients. Wednesday is more of a networking day. So that's when, I don't even need to think of Friday is more my optional day. Friday is my day too when my personal things, if I'm going to get a haircut or a massage, that's going to be on a Friday. I can't always do that, right? Like my dentist doesn't work on Fridays, but I'm always gearing it towards Friday. So your calendar, figuring out when you're going to work, what you're going to work on, making sure that about 80% of your time is spent on what I call your watering your money tree, your money-earning activities, working your marketing plan, your time with your clients. Most of us have that flipped, right? And 80% of our time is, I'm getting ready to get ready. I'm organizing my office again. So getting your calendar where you don't even need to think about it, and you grow into this calendar, and you just work it. And some of you may be thinking, but Claire, that's why I have this business so I could be flexible. And trust me, creating this structure will give you that flexibility. Like I said, not every week's the same, right? Life's going to happen. But the more you have these killer weeks because you followed your success calendar, you don't need to question, what am I doing today? Or, you don't waste all that time. Oh, my gosh. That's what it takes, and it's not difficult. And then last but not least, it's just a couple of simple systems for an organized environment. An organized environment truly equals an organized mind, especially with managing your email. I'm all about getting my email inbox down to 0. Not every day. I'm not living in my email inbox because that's not a money-earning activity. That's not watering my money tree. But at least once a month, I want to make sure I've gone through every email and I figured out what I need to do, and I've gotten things on my calendar, and I get them out of my email inbox. When you can actually see a clean email inbox instead of an overflowing email inbox, an overflowing email inbox robs you of your creativity. You're spending so much time going over and over and over, flagging and unflagging and reading and unreading. And then your office. Some of you, your office may be at the kitchen table. That's okay. But is it a place that it's clean when you start your work time, whether your work time is only 2 hours that day? Is it clean? And did you end it with it being clean? And I'm not naturally clean. I can tell you that. Ask anyone in my family, right? For me, it's simply, did I have a physical inbox on my desk? The end of the day, I'm just going to, anything miscellaneous, I'm just going to put it all into my inbox. And the next morning or the next time I have an office day, I'm real good at getting my physical inbox down to 0. I've gotten really good at asking myself, do I need to do anything with this? Do I throw it out or shred it or recycle or file it, or what do I need to do? So there's a couple of simple things, but again, until we have this organized environment, it's really difficult for us to bring that level of creativity and enjoyment to our business. And it's about finding some type of organization structure. Again, I can go do like a whole 3-hour segment on just getting organized. But I'm going to share with you, I love David Allen's Getting Things Done. He's got a book, and I follow his philosophy. And it's about finding a main organization tool, whether you're pen and paper or not. If you're pen and paper, the Planner Pad is a wonderful planning tool. You can go to plannerpads.com. If you are I am more technology. I don't have a paper planner. I do write things out, but I use a system called IQtel, which is free, and it's my everything. All of my emails go into that, all my calendar, my to-do list, my everything. It's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So, but find something that works for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all. But until we can get organized, it's really difficult for the other parts of our business to run like a well-oiled machine. So we're wrapping up here, and this winning business model, it really comes down to 3 of the key things we talked about. First is, do you have a steady stream of new, hungry, ideal clients? What does that take? That just takes a couple of those, what I call those rinse and repeat strategies, right, which you ladies can do. Figure out what they are. I know there's a lot to it, right, but once you get it up and running, rinse and repeat. Do it every week, every month, every quarter, whatever. And then when you're getting in these new ideal clients, do you have a conversion mechanism? Many of you don't. So many of you are broken at the very top. You don't have a steady stream of ideal clients coming in. And until you have that, it's almost impossible to have a profitable business. So maybe you're lacking there. Or maybe you have all these new clients these new ideal clients that you're meeting with. They're hearing about you. You're doing your webinar. You're consistent on Facebook. But they're not buying, right? Maybe you just don't have a conversion mechanism in place. Either sales conversations, right? The more people you have conversations with, the more clients you're going to have. Or maybe a sales page, your website. If I went to your website, maybe it's doing you no justice whatsoever. So maybe you're broken there. And if you don't have a conversion mechanism, it's going to be nearly impossible to have a profitable business. And what are you selling them into, right? You're selling them into this offer that sells itself, right? And if we're still describing that we're selling hours or a coaching package or knowledge, or you're going to learn this and you're going to learn that, and it's going to be wonderful and a wonderful experience, and you're going to be your new true self. I mean, until we start talking results, that mountaintop, you know what? See that mountaintop? And this is what it's like, and I'm confident I can get you there in the shortest, fastest way. What I call, again, that offer that sells itself. So maybe you don't have that offer that sells itself. But that's what it's about, really, those three things, getting them up and running. So the 5 things we said we'd be talking about, and as we're wrapping this up too, any questions you've got, go ahead and feel free to jot that in the chat function. But first, ladies, I want you to get clear on your mountaintop. I want you to start thinking about ways you can leverage your offerings. Appreciate that you can actually attract more ideal clients by doing less. Embrace your calendar. Your calendar is your friend. And start figuring out just some simple ways that you can have a more organized environment. That's what it's about. And hopefully you see the possibilities. Hopefully you're hearing and feeling that belief that I'm breathing into you. That, ladies, you could do it. I'm no more special than you. It's here for the taking. It's here for the taking. But you may be at the bottom of the mountain. It looks like Mount Everest. You're like, Claire, I just don't know how I could do it. I don't see how it's possible. This is such a struggle. I don't see how I can have this, $10,000 a month business. I don't see how it's possible. So I'd love this is just a completely free gift, especially for you service-based providers where you're like, Claire, this sounds great. I just don't see how it could work for me. I just don't see it. I'm stuck. Let's talk. Completely free. Completely free. Good. We have people that love the David Allen system. Can you put back the last slide with the 5? Yep, sure. So these are the 5 things that we were talking about today, right? Getting clear on your mountaintop, leveraging your offerings, so figuring out ways to streamline it, which really gets that are you clear on their mountaintop, your client's mountaintop? I'm clear on your mountaintop. Are you clear on your client's mountaintop? How to attract more clients by doing less, creating your success calendar, and creating an organized environment, which is your email, papers on your desk. All right, so if you're here and it looks like Mount Everest, just go to talkwithclaire.com, especially with it being a brand new year, 2014. I've blocked out time on my calendar over the next 2 weeks just for these simple yet profound complimentary discussions. So let's just chat. Go to talkwithclaire.com. I'd love to speak with every single one of you. I won't be able to do that, but I'd love to speak with as many of you as possible. Yep, absolutely. Just go to talkwithclaire.com. And let's see if we can find some time to chat. I'd love for you to start seeing what this could look like. What could that offer that sells itself look like for you? Right? How can you start streamlining it so you're not spending so much time? How can you fit it all in? Maybe it's where are you broken here? What part of your business model is broken? With just a couple of small tweaks, you can truly have that family-focused, streamlined, highly profitable business that is there for the taking. It's there for the taking. So great. Good, good, good. And we did have a couple of questions that were written in as well. I know our time is up, and I hope that I cover this. One was, how do I know which marketing strategies to use? Remember this little Venn diagram? It's just figuring out which ones fit your personality. Which ones do you think can reach your ideal client? And which ones can you commit to doing consistently? And just start there, whatever feels right in the gut. If it meets those criteria, just start there. Get them up and being good and consistent and evaluating the effectiveness. So that's the key. Picking it, whatever feels like it makes the most sense with that Venn diagram, focusing there, really maximizing it. And then another email that was sent in that I hope I answered as well was, I feel like I'm out there. I feel like I'm going to networking events and I'm providing great content on my blog posts, but I'm not getting sales. So that would be, going back to this picture here, the middle, is that there's got to be, or the last two, the middle and the last, there's something broken. You're either, you're meeting all these people, but you don't have that conversion mechanism in place. Maybe you don't know how to have a sales conversation, or your sales page is not doing you any justice. It's not selling for you. Or maybe it's what you're trying to sell. Maybe it's not what your clients are hungry for. Or maybe you're just, the wording, you're not focusing on describing that mountaintop, the results. So those were two questions that were along those lines as well about marketing strategies. But anyway, ladies, again, we're going to wrap this up. And the planner website, sure. For the planner pad, you can just go to www.plannerpads.com. That's if you're a pen and paper person. It's a wonderful planner. And those of you who want to check out an online tool, and I've got like 5 different email addresses, right? And they're in different providers, and they all come into IQTel. They all come into this one beautiful home base that is my emails, my calendaring, my everything, my next actions list, my projects, it's based on IQTel. There is some folks who said they love David Allen's Getting Things Done. IQTel is a solution that's based on David Allen's Getting Things Done for people who were looking for a tool, an online tool that did it all. So definitely check that out. But anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap things up now. Again, thank you so much, ladies. If you think of any questions after, I'm going to be sending out the recording, so feel free to go ahead and reply back. But I'd love for us to talk. So the sooner you go to talkwithclaire.com and get that submitted, the better. The more likely we'll be able to have that conversation. So wonderful. You're very welcome, ladies. Thank you so, so much. You guys have a great one. And know, in the meantime, that I'm cheering you on. So take care, ladies. Bye.